that really this is the path that they want. But you have to have the right coaches in place and the right development. I'd love to see coaches on kind of a same page across the board, like a real union in a sense, that we are like all kind of sharing ideas and kind of on the same page with development. It's not so sporadic and sparse and you're doing your thing and I'm doing my thing over here, especially when it comes to like developing future US national team goalkeepers, future pro players, MLS, NWSL. Like that's what I would like to see. Do I think that's going to happen in my lifetime? I hope so. But that is what I think needs to happen. And it needs to happen at the field player level as well.
Yeah.
Serge, anything you want to add?
Yeah, my big invest and educate. Invest in goalkeeping and educate. Because if you look at what England did in the FA, and you look at how big their goalkeeping department is, now obviously I know the US is bigger and more spread out, but we can get some licensing together, which would be fantastic. Because then I think to Saskia, what you're saying, now we're all on the same page.
Yes.
Because we have something to work off of. And I think invest in having people who can help spread that and help teach that and help be there. Because right now I think we're all doing a great job of helping each other and in our respective, pods and doing things like this. But I think we have to have something that goes to everyone. But I think you have to invest in it and you have to educate everybody about it. And I think that's the challenge.
And I would love to see something as far as like whether it's, you're just bringing in, you're identifying coaches around the country that, if it's licensing and everything like that, but you're bringing in goalkeepers and there's no reason that you can't have goalkeeper camps themselves alone. Like to identify not just, I'm doing a camp over here, you're doing a camp, but like a tangible camp that you would when you identify a national team players and field players and everything like that. There's no reason that you can't just do that for goalkeepers and start having a mass camp with different coaches. And now you're all integrating and you're getting the same philosophies down. And now we're connected.
You're so spot on, Suska. I never even thought about that, but like,
why not?
No, but like with these youth identification camps, it's 70 midfielders from Southern California and 3 goalkeepers.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they're getting their and it's my podcast, so they're getting their ass kicked, and you're really not getting anything like that much out of it. And how are you why not kick all the field players out, bring the goalkeepers in different age groups and have those identification camps just for goalkeepers and the coaches.
There needs to be more full-time goalkeeping staff within the federation because right
totally
now there's not enough, and it's no disrespect to the people that are doing the stuff from the identification process because I think there's some fantastic people involved, but there's nobody with a real goalkeeping background and there's nobody that's really focusing on the goalkeepers, and I think it's going to become a problem sooner than later. My hope is at some stage, especially for the NWSL, that there's a reserve league that comes in, so that
I absolutely agree.
To get more opportunities for not only goalkeepers but for outfield players to play. Because the only way we all know you get better is through experience. And training, yes, is going to prepare you and make you better, but games are the ultimate teacher. So can we add another layer to it to allow us to let it grow? Because especially for the goalkeeping, I think it hampers their development because we have to win games. So there's not a lot of opportunity to just play goalkeepers to play goalkeepers.
Like, how I feel about the Super League. I feel like I feel like that should be the other league. Like I can say what I want to say, but why not? Like why? It's in the opposite season. Your goalkeepers can go to these teams and play, and it can be more competitive and everything. And you can move the players up and down, and they can come back in and play. And I'm just like, instead of competing leagues, like I don't.
Hey, I mean, look at what happened with NASL and MLS. That did not work out for NASL. Yeah. I'll tell you that a few years back. So as we start wrapping up, and again, Serge, thanks for taking all the time. I think
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed. Yeah. Really love talking with you guys. I really do. So thank you.
I mean, and the thing is that if you want to be able to, because the thing is, the great thing I love is we've been talking about, getting different perspectives, and getting feedback from different types of people. And for those of you guys who are not familiar, like, again, there is the Union Pro Mentorship Program through Union Premium. And Sergio is a member of that. And he is available in office hours. Before we kind of share how you do this for maybe some people who might not be familiar, Serge, first off, why did you feel it was important for you to get involved in a platform like this?
I think it's, for me, giving back and helping players and coaches is such a huge piece to me. I was very fortunate as a young coach to be part of the Soccer Plus community with Tony, which opened so many doors for me to work with so many fantastic people that at this point in my coaching career, I think it's really important to give back. And I think it's really important to not only help goalkeepers, but also help younger coaches that are trying to figure things out and that are trying to learn or trying to figure out what the best route for them to go is. So for me, it's about giving back and helping the goalkeeping community.
No, and by the way, everybody, it's really, really easy to do this. All you literally have to do is when you go on the landing page on the Union, whether it's on the desktop or on the mobile app, you just go to one-on-one coaching, click on that. Then you'll see all the different coaches or pro mentors, because there's sometimes players there too, that are available. And look, Sergio's right there. So he's available. I look and see. I'll look at this. He's available Thursday right now. He's available right now, guys. Just click on him right now. Totally kidding. Then you click on Sergio. You'll see what his hours that he's available, the slot times, and then you press book now. And then it asks you for your identification to make sure that you are the actual person. And then you're good to go. That's it. That's it to do. By the way, guys, we've also set it up so that all the different pro mentors are available just in your feed. All you have to do is if you go to your feed and you want to filter based on the different mentors, their content, you can do it based on their content right here, which I believe Sergio is right there. So once Sergio gets content up there, no, I'm kidding. We have some content for Sergio ready to go. You can check out all of his stuff. It is very, very, very straightforward to do this. And if you guys do not know how to join, it is very simple. You literally get the link, or you go on the Google Play or App Store, on the Apple, whatever that thing's called. And and you can sign up and make sure you do Union Premium, guys. That's where all the good stuff is. Otherwise, you just get the engagement forum, which is still great to learn, but totally worth the $4.99 a month to be able to work with people like Serge or Saskia. And if they're not available, you can see if I'm available too. No, there's other great people too. Obviously very excited about this, and Sergio, massively excited, that you're involved. And actually, Liv Sakani from Racing Louisville's already been doing sessions. Whoop, Louis, can you see me? Can you hear me, dude?
Yeah, how you doing, mate?
What's up, man? How are you? Welcome to QVC. Welcome to the. We got the scrolling ticker going here. We got ads going. All sorts of fun stuff going on.
Like Sky Sports News.
I love it, man. I love it. Oh, man. Dude, thanks first off for doing this, man. I know you've got a lot on your plate right now, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. It's good to jump back on.
Yeah. I mean, dude, outside of just doing Villa updates, Oh, let's see who's here.
Oh, who else would it be?
I don't know. A Zoom bomber? Zoom bomber that just popped up, Dude, I also love. Oh, there you are. Okay, for a second you were like upside down, but now you're not upside down. Lou, have you been getting any sleep yet?
We've just managed to get the youngest one sleep trained. So she's in her own room, sleeping 10, 11 hours right now, which is a big help.
Yeah. That's got to be absolutely massive, man. I mean, it was like, I couldn't believe it when I saw you at the game. I mean, we'll talk about it when the show starts and everything, but like literally at the championship match, walking down the stands and everything like that, and with baby in tow, I was like, this is dedication. This is an impressive feat. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was having the one and splitting up and the wife taking the other one is sometimes divide and conquer is the best way of doing it. Doesn't matter where you are. I can deal with one-on-one.
Susk knows all about that.
All right, guys. Well, let's get this going. Here we go. Let me find the thing, and we'll get this going. Hold on. Let me take a sip. And here we go.
Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me in the lovely valley, it's 65 degrees. It's nice and sunny and cool. The one and only 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Weber. And joining us from an even more temperate climate than Woodland Hills, California, Louis Hunt of San Diego Wave. Louis, San Diego, the weather, honestly, probably some of the best in the world, I'd have to say.
I will say it did rain yesterday. So
wait, what?
Yeah, believe it or not, but it's been unbelievable. Yeah, especially the last month or so. Little cooler in the mornings, and then sun's fully out, blue skies by 9 a.m. Can't complain.
So when's your first favorite time to do the training? Is it when it's nice and cool out, or do you like it sunny and kind of a little bit warmer and dry?
Yeah, right now is actually really nice because we're still doing some like small group stuff, and we start at about 9:30, and that's beautiful. It's a little cooler while we're setting up, and then by the time we start, the heat kicks in. But it's beautiful. So yeah, really nice at the moment.
Susk, what do you like? Do you like to train in the warmth, or do you like to train when it's cool and damp, kind of in the morning?
She likes flying around in the rain. She's a
yeah, I mean. Cool and damp in the morning's fun. It's fine with me. I mean, either way, just bring it on.
Okay.
I say the worst possible thing for us is when it gets really warm in the summer and the pitch dries out and we don't have chances. Sometimes we don't to like re-water it and get the sprinklers out. That's a nightmare for the keepers, especially if it's a 1v1 day.
I don't know how you guys can sprinkle. I mean, like literally your training facility has more grass than I think I've ever seen in my life. Like you have literally the largest fields. Like it's amazing that you found that much space in Southern California. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's like you guys have the pick of the litter from field space.
Yeah, we're lucky that we obviously share that complex with Surf run that whole complex, and it's beautiful. Anyone that's been to any of the Surf Cups, and we've got a couple of fields in our own area to it. We've got an unbelievable groundsman that has been able to hook and set things up, especially for the goalkeepers, where I can just hose down the penalty areas for the most part. So when it does dry out, we're still able to maximize what a game would be like.
I feel like this has become a landscaping podcast. Like this is just a podcast. And guys, we're good for the next hour. Actually, our topic is going to be proper field maintenance. We're going to be discussing the different mulches that you want to use to keep your fields nice and calm. Actually, today's topic, guys, is going to be activation exercises because a lot of the stuff that Louis has been posting kind of on social media the last year or so has been some really, really cool activation exercises. But kind of before we get into that topic, Louis, first off, why don't you kind of catch up everybody? Obviously since you've last been on the show, another fantastic season for San Diego Wave. Winning the Shield is not a small feat by any stretch of the imagination. I know you fell a little short in regards to the title through the playoffs championship, but why don't you kind of catch everybody up?
Yeah, I think you just done it for me, to be honest. Obviously another great season for the club, being able to break into that group that's won the Shield. It's only a small group of teams that have been able to do that. So for us to join them only in the second year and win something for the first time, it meant a lot. I think you could see that with the players and the staff after the game. It meant a lot to be able to have a trophy, if you can call that Shield a trophy.
I love all those comments, by the way. But, like the pie platter, everything.
Yeah, I think yeah, kids that were there.
I think it'll probably look better. It would probably look better next year after all the kickback from that.
Well, yeah, we got that, and then all of a sudden, Tiffany's come out with the championship.
I know.
It's up a little earlier, but Yeah, no, like obviously a really good, very different to the first year in a lot of ways. Like our path, it was 2 really different years. The World Cup being in the middle was something that nobody had experienced before. So navigating through that, the amount of games that we played without the internationals, and then them integrating back in, and how people came back either in a good place or a not so good place based on how they felt they'd done internationally. But yeah, the league's crazy. You just got to kind of be in and around it going into the last quarter of the season, and then any place is up for grabs, really.
Saskia, obviously this was your first year, kind of covering the league, in the NWSL from a professional standpoint with Paramount and CBS and everything like that. Like, kind of what were your thoughts about? And I know, with your relationship with Angel City, you have to be careful what you say.
No, I don't have to be careful about anything.
But
I totally agree. I mean, look, coming into that last part of the year it was up for anybody. The points were so close, it's awesome. It's awesome going into competitions where every single game counts, every single point counts. And it made it so competitive. I think it was interesting to see how people were when they got back from the World Cup, whether it was like it took an emotional toll, whether it was a physical toll, and then as well, like the people that didn't go to the World Cup that actually really stepped up and shined and earned themselves some serious minutes coming into that last push.
Yeah. And by the way, Louis, feel free to step in anytime. You don't need to wait for me to ask you a question or anything like that. But like, I think, one of the really fun things about this season, obviously, was their personal investment, Susk, that, you had with San Diego. Obviously, we're friends with Kaylin, and I know that Shay, went through TKI as well, too. And then obviously Lauren at UCLA. Why don't you kind of describe that goalkeeping environment this year?
Yeah, I mean, if I start with Lauren from UCLA, obviously close ties with Saskia. I can't speak highly enough of Lauren and how she did. She came into the environment. Obviously, it's always tough when you've been a number one and been super successful in that college environment, and understanding how big that jump is to the pro level, and all the different things that go with, whether it's like how you're activating, I'm sure we'll get onto, but how you're activating pre-training, how you're getting your preventative stuff done, your rehab stuff done. We went through a real journey with Lauren where we were talking about how, like, she's brilliant because she wants to go. That's one of the biggest compliments I could say about her. But we had to educate her around the piece of, we can't go every single day, because you're going from being a collegiate player to a pro player. Your body's going to break down at some point if you're not really, really good about managing it. And that was an education piece for her throughout the whole season, that by the end of it now, she's in such a good place. The technicality of her game has continued to improve. She's obviously got such great hand-eye coordination and a good technical foundation anyway. And then she's added to her game by being able to train with Kaylin, with Carly at the very start, while Carly was still here in pre-season, and then with Shay. And I think her and Shay had a really good relationship while Kay was away at the World Cup. And Shay's come in again from being a starter in a different country, in a different league, stepping up into the NWSL. She played both roles, right, as a starter and as a number 2. She did that really, really well. And yeah, Kaylin, I think everybody knows how special she is on and off the field. Another solid season from her while going through everything with the World Cup, and how she integrated the other 2 and was able to make them better, but also allow those 2 to make her better as well. Because I think as a number 1, that's a special skill set. Kaylin's very generous about how she also allows the 2 and the 3 to still feel fully part of it and fully involved, and gives them the opportunity to develop and learn as well.
Adding on to that, and Saskia, obviously, we all have a relationship with Kay, but one of the things that always struck me about her is the reason that she's world-class, not just on the field, but is off the field as well, too, in regards to just every communication ever had with her. It's all about continuing to learn, continuing to help others, whether it's in goalkeeping or in other ways, and really continue to improve the goalkeeping community as a whole worldwide.
Yeah, I think the thing, if you talk about Lauren coming in, I think, sitting behind Tegan for 2 years at UCLA actually helped her in a sense, like, because she knew what it was to be in that position, to not be a starter, to have to fight for it, but to show up every day and learn and realize, what you need to work on. And I think like it's a great crew you have there keeper wise, because with Kaylin, with those mentalities, they are open to help each other and to grow off of each other. And you don't always get that with goalkeeping crews. And, when you do, it really just elevates everybody's game.
Yeah, I totally agree. There wasn't one day in training where there was any kind of elephant in the room or awkwardness between the other goalkeepers, or I would like to think that the two or the three on any given day felt that they weren't getting what they needed, because I think, again, between the three of them, they do such a good job at helping each other out in the environment that we create as well. But yeah, Mike, to your point with Kaylin, I think she kind of sums up where the women's game is going and what you want. Like now we're getting bigger crowds in the women's game. There's more investment. And I think she's very aware of that. And so she wants to give back. She's the last player off the pitch in the home games, going around signing autographs for fans and pictures and giving her gloves away and that. She's got a real special connection with the fan base here, whether they're youth goalkeepers. I remember last season, actually, there was a tournament going on at the field. So when we came out of our fields and walked onto the surf fields, two little boys came up to her with her dad. So it crosses across the boys' game as well as the girls' game, which is awesome. And that's what you want. We want more people, more fans to be invested. And that's a little bit of the player's responsibility off the field to do that. And she's amazing with it.
And I think, one of the things that just, and I don't want to make this just like the, the Kaylin Sheridan, fan club, podcast or anything like that. But the way she carries herself, you would never know that she was one of the best goalkeepers in the world, because of just how part of the community she is. She's not secluding herself like she's better than anybody else. And I honestly, I mean, it's just really special. And I think, honestly, Louis, I think a lot of what you've got going on right there, I don't want to give, I know as goalkeeper coaches, we don't want to take all the credit or anything like that, but you've clearly been part of creating an environment that has brought in the type of people that you want, not just on the field, but off the field, into your environment.
Well, I would say that a big credit of that goes to the hierarchy at the club. And I've said that for 2 years now. One of the best things about the whole environment is the squad that Casey, Molly, the GM, and Jill managed to put together from year one through to now was a group of very, very good people. So culturally, the environment's excellent. It's that, there isn't the egos that are overly difficult to manage, and everybody's very, very much all driven in one direction. And yeah, like you say, Kaylin's very, very much like that. She's got the ego about her, where she's got the swag and the competitiveness, which you have to have, but she's very aware of how she comes across to everybody else and what she needs to do to grow the game. And that's fantastic.
Yeah, before we kind of go into the topic, right now, and I think it's honestly perfect when we're talking about, environments and, creating, camaraderie and everything when we talk about activation exercises. Saskia, obviously, you've been in a bunch of different environments and you've seen a bunch of different environments. And, can you reflect back to any, and you don't have to name any specifically or whatever, where you're just like, wow, this is a special group, and because of this, not only are we succeeding, from a goalkeeping standpoint, but we're also succeeding from a team standpoint because of the community that we have as a team.
99.
I mean, I thought you were going to say that, but I didn't want to throw it.
But I mean, it was just a special, and it always will be. A family, a team, the goalkeeper crew, the way Brian and I trained together, pushed each other and cheered each other on. Every day was competitive, but they're all my sisters to this day. Talk to everybody yesterday. Talk to everybody at least once a week. So, and that's 22 years later. So it's that hands down.
I mean,
And
that's
then the environment that Tony DeChico created, was just incredible.
well. Speaking of environments, let's get into this topic here, because this is a really fun topic, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for a lot of young coaches out there to get some ideas on some different things that they can do. First off, before we start looking at some of these pictures, Louis, what do we mean by activation exercises?
I think it can mean a couple of different things. The way we run things down at Wave is the players will physically get activated in the gym with the sports performance guys, with the sports performance coaches, before they step onto the grass. So whether that's through their personalized gym programs or it's just a generic activation day where they're doing those movements to loosen up, which is great for me, because by the time they step out on the grass, we can get the balls rolling straight away.
Nice.
And we can do things like what you're going to see in some of these clips here. I'll always give them space and some room and time to then continue to do their own thing. And some of the activities will be designed in a way where it's physically getting them more warmed up rather than just smashing balls in the top corner from the first service. But then you've got this, which is what I would describe as like the on-field activation, where it can be a physical activation, it can be a hand-eye activation, brain activation is a lot of them, as well as just your whole holistic movements.
Yeah, by the way, my favorite thing about this, Susk, is that I freeze framed it when Louis looks like he's about to make a diving play to keep the ball in bounds. Right
levels of my dives. I'm not getting off the ground.
Oh my gosh. I love this too. But Saskia, we always talk about this, especially in the youth game, how many young goalkeepers, are put into an environment where they're all just thrown into match actions. And there's no sort of preparation of the body for these match actions before they get into it. And then people wonder why they don't look sharp, or they get injured or anything like that.
Well, one of the frustrating things is that there's no, like, if you take a game, like when you see youth games and stuff, and look, we get it. Not, in the youth environment, not every team can have a goalkeeper coach, and, trainers to help them get activated before. But it's that lack, in my opinion, that frustrates me of the head coach setting something up for the goalkeepers to get themselves properly activated before stepping into pregame warm up and everything like that. Like, how many times have you gone out to a club game and you see the goalkeepers standing on the side, and I don't even know if you want to say hitting volleys to each other, which aren't that clean, and no movement, and then it's like, okay, let's jump in and do like shooting or like whatever their pregame is, and it still happens, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, field player coaches out there, you have to, if you don't have a goalkeeper coach, you have to take your goalkeeper's aside, set something up that's progressive, that helps them get activated. So then when you need them, they're ready to go. You can't just go from cold to hot,
Yeah. I mean, it's such a great point. So Louis, first off, let's see what you got going on right here, because this looks like fun. And I think one of the really cool things that we're going to talk about, during today's show is that these activation exercises don't have to be boring. They don't have to be robotic. They can be fun and competitive. So what is this here that we're going to see here?
Yeah, just a little bit of standard of goalkeeping style soccer tennis. The variation is that we've got the little balls out. I think you've seen these probably across a lot of platforms. And the mini ball's obviously there, so you get a little bit of different hand-eye coordination. Activating the brain, it moves differently than a normal size 5.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I gotta stop you right there. Hold
Look
on.
at that.
We gotta see
Okay,
that
LB.
again.
Watch this one, LB. Watch it.
Oh my gosh. When?
The problem with all of that is I still lose the point because of the move. So
Yeah, like,
we got it. Look at that.
and then watch LB watch her save this.
yeah, she killed me.
Oh! You
So
know,
I think we went from a 2v2 game to then like round the clock. I don't know if you ever played round the clock with table tennis, where you're hitting the ball and you're running around, like, I don't know, we used to do it as kids. So from the original 2v2 here, then I think as the clip goes on, the one where they kill me, so I get the point off Lauren there, and she gets it. So you just you got 1 or 2 touch to pop it over. You can
But
kill someone on the touch. You can't
But the key thing with this is like it's not realizing what you're like. It's fun and everything, but those little micro movements, those side shuffles, those quick reactions and everything are just they're activating every part of your body. And it at the same time you're just like competitive, you're having a good time. And like you said, Mike, it doesn't have to be like stagnant and boring every day at practice. Like this speaks. And how many times in a game do random little flicks and stuff like that happen anyway? So
I think that's the key part to it as well, Saskia, as well as, like you say, the little micro movements that sometimes they're the really difficult things to coach or train because you just want players to naturally be able to do them. But it's all these movements possibly could happen in a game that
absolutely
train in an organized goalkeeper activity training session. So you got to try and bring them out in other ways where it becomes a bit more unpredictable.
100%, because like you can't like set it up in a normal training session, but this does it. And all of a sudden in a game, you're going to see Sheridan like shuffle to the side and get that paw down and flick it wide. And you're like, wow, and you're like, these are the ways you train that.
Absolutely. And my favorite thing is that, how many times in the game have you seen a goalkeeper with their head facing the floor, covering themselves, trying to not get smashed by the ball? I mean, that's some U8 stuff right there. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen that move quite a bit.
I love it.
But in all seriousness, Louis, one of the things that I love about this is that this is a way that you can gamify activations, especially for foundational goalkeepers, where, like Saskia was saying, they don't even realize that they're learning or that they're incorporating things that they're going to be doing in the game. They're just trying to have fun. And I think, to be honest with you, I think it teaches young goalkeepers to be improvisational within matches, as opposed to like, oh, I got to move my feet this way and catch the ball this way. Because it's not always going to be like that.
Mike. No, keep the ball out of the net and do it however you can. And this said, like, figure it out. If it gets flicked, if it gets redirected, it doesn't have to be like some perfect goalkeeper movement from a textbook. It's got to be keep the ball out of the net. Or lay on the ground and roll and hide in the net, whatever it is.
So Louis, before we kind of move on to this next clip right here, I just kind of want to ask you, because like, obviously, this is fun. Obviously, it's engaging. Why do you think so many young coaches out there are afraid to do something like this? Is it because they're worried about the chaos, as Joe Lloyden likes to talk about a lot of the times, and they want it structured?
Yeah, I think sometimes if I go back to in a youth game, sometimes you get the parents on the sidelines watching training or looking over the fence, and they've got an idea about what they think training should look like, and whether this is goalkeeper training or team training. In an ideal world, you want it to be chaotic and a lot of failure. Then the kids walk off, and the parents are looking at it going, "Well, that didn't look like we've just won in a practice session, in a training session."
Right.
And that's really is what you want to create. I think sometimes with the youth stuff as well, it's people feel like maybe they're a bit restricted around equipment because you don't have everything that maybe we have at the pro game or at the college game. But you can be creative with it. I remember doing a talk a couple of years ago about in the youth game, you can still film. Everyone's got a phone these days that's got a camera on it. And even if you just prop it up against a bag, you can still film a training session from that capacity with a U14 kid on the side of the pitch. So, the stuff that you're going to see in these videos, for the most part, yes, there is some bits where there's like specific equipment, but a lot of the time you can do it with just cones and a ball.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that. Go ahead.
You know how I feel about that. Like, I feel that it's, and maybe it's just where I came from before, like, not having all the bells and whistles and the equipment, and I'm happy about that in a sense. It is figuring out how to get the most out of training with minimal, apparatuses. You don't need, what do parents want? Do they want to see and this is what they do want. They want to see their kid jumping over this, diving under that, going through a hoop and everything. But what are they getting out of that other than, going through an obstacle course? And I say that all the time. Like, is that effective? Like, you can be more effective with a couple cones than you can if you know what you're doing.
Well, right here, it looks like Louis is going to teach Kaylin how to juggle. It looks like they're getting ready for some sort of a Renaissance fair where they're going to be performing an act on
I
one of
gotta
the
see
stages.
it.
The stage is right here. So, what is this, Louis? First up, before we see this,
They're little. Actually, Carly was doing this at Chelsea with Stu, a goalkeeper coach out there, and so we just stole the idea. They're little noodles that you got a blue, a red, and a green side. And as I'm throwing it, I'm calling the color, and she's got to try and catch that color
Nice.
while she's also pulsing and activating. So just to get physical warm up to a degree, but also hand-eye coordination, activating the brain. We'll try and do a lot of this stuff on the re-entry day, the back to basics day, just to try and get their brains a little bit out of the fog before we start smashing balls at them.
Oh, I love that.
yeah, I mean, one of the things I really love about this is the cognitive aspect of it too. I mean, because it looks easy for everybody who's watching this out there, and if you're listening to the audio, you definitely need to watch the pictures of this to kind of really grasp what's going on here. But it's really complicated in the moment, and I think personally,
But to be able to think that quick, I mean, how do you teach that? Right? It's difficult to figure out how to teach something. This is a perfect tool to do it. Like, you have less than a split second to think, like, on certain things as a goalkeeper, and this is so tight and so close. And to say, okay, red, and then have to train your brain, your eyes, and everything to say, okay, not black, not green, but catch the red. Where's the red? These are ways to train that.
And I think you can make this really, really goalkeeper specific around your eyes, watching the color right onto your hand, which how many times are you talking about watching the ball right onto your feet, especially when you're making saves that go beyond you, and goalkeepers don't. Ball goes beyond them and they just make a dive rather than watching that ball and moving the head all the way over. So tiny little things you can almost con the goalkeeper into learning by coaching them without even really talking about it.
See, I love what you just said right there in regards to, like, without even coaching them about it, because I think one of the problems, Louis, with young goalkeepers is, and especially with young coaches with young goalkeepers, is that they try to over explain something as opposed to just letting them figure it out in the moment and letting them fail. And like you were talking about with the failure thing. So
yeah, no, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Suska, I want to ask you, in regards to this right here, because this is obviously, something that's really difficult to do in the moment, until you kind of get the hang of it. Do you think something like this is too complicated to do with, like, 9s, 10s, or do you think
No.
you can start at that age?
You can start at that age. Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. And it might be a steeper learning curve and stuff like that, but not at all. And again, it's when you get stuff like when you actually understand how to follow the ball, how to look at the ball, this is my opinion, and it goes a lot slower than it looks to everybody else seeing the shot. When you lock onto a ball, you follow it properly, you see it, you make saves that if you couldn't do that, you wouldn't make. And so I don't think this is too advanced to start using with younger players.
No. Louis, obviously, you worked, as a director at Surf, which is a massive club and one of the best in the country out here in the United States for a long, long time. Did you have all these types of activation exercises with the foundational players too, or was this something that just kind of came about when you got into the higher levels?
Yeah, one of the big things I was trying to push a lot while I was at Surf was, especially with our Zone 1, with our younger kids, was to try. I don't think we never actually really properly did it, but I wanted to almost have once every week or once every 2 weeks a goalkeeper style day for all of the young ones, because the reality is at U8, U9, they're all probably playing a quarter of the game in goal, or half.
Right.
They're playing half a game in goal. And things like this, I wanted to have and do and incorporate, where it was all just hand-eye coordination, learning how to move, learning how to fall. Because what happens is at that young age, those kids love those types of sessions. The ball can still be at the feet at times, but you're learning like all those different motor skills. And you're kind of convincing or conning younger kids to like the goalkeeper position rather than the traditional way of is you're going in goal. I'm telling you, you're going in goal. And the kids like, I don't really want to stand there and have the ball smashed at me. I want to go and be the one that's up front scoring. Whereas if you can get them to really love all the different nuances of the position, I think you widen the goalkeeper pool a little bit. And we would do some of these things. So we never got to the point where I was able to really implement that across the teams. But when we had our zone 1 goalkeepers, we did have all of them in together, me and one of the other coaches. And we was able to have fun little games like this, especially the soccer tennis stuff. And you might have to simplify it and make it a little bit different to what we would do with the pros. But a lot of the stuff you're able to just make it age specific and it still works.
Yeah.
See, Siska, I love what he just said about, having to just make wrinkles. And I think a really important thing that
I think it's so true, because the reason you have drop off and turnover with goalkeepers is specifically because of that, because they get out to club practice and stuff. And who wants to stand in goal when you don't have the tools to actually be a solid goalkeeper and work effectively, and just have kids smash the ball into the back of the net? And it's not fun, and so you have to incorporate that learning curve and that training aspect where they love those days. They love the soccer tennis days. They love, the activation days. And so now when they get into goal, they don't realize that they've been given the tools to succeed better. And now you get less turnover and drop off.
And before we kind of move on to this next picture, Louis, just to kind of add on.
By the way, I like to do that. Just put me in the goal and just, just ping it at me. Go ahead.
But before we kind of go to that, Louis, I want to kind of bring up what Saskia was saying in regards to also like engagement too, like, with these younger goalkeepers, like you're referring to of the drop off and everything like that, is that because a lot of the times at foundational sessions that I see, and I'm talking about team sessions, there's just a lack of engagement with the young goalkeepers. And so there's not really a lot for them to be doing from an active standpoint. So they go, I don't really want to just be someone who just stands here, waits for 15 minutes for a ball to roll at me.
Yeah. It can be the position, I think, across the years, when a head coach or assistant coaches don't have help and you don't have enough goalkeeper coaches in the environment, it becomes a secondary priority, and it's just go over there and kind of do your own thing. I don't know how many head coaches at the youth level, if they're designing team activities that might not incorporate the goalkeeper, and we all know they can incorporate the goalkeepers, but if they decide not to, are they setting up something that's fun for the keepers on the sides to keep warm with? Probably not. And that's probably a little bit of the club's responsibilities to get more goalkeeper help. I think on Sergio's episode with you guys, he was talking about that, how many more goalkeeper coaches you can get from the federation standpoint, let alone grassroots.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, that's a whole other conversation. Is like I think Bill Reno was the one that brought up this question on the Sergio episode, and it opened up a whole Pandora's box. But, again, I kind of want to say, one of the things too is just that, like, we want our young goalkeepers to be actively involved in the session. And I think, Saskia, you've been in the youth environment. Obviously, Louis, you've been in the youth environment tremendously, but Saskia, speaking to you specifically, it may be some clubs that didn't have the resources. The coaches were using the goalkeepers as an accessory for their team session as opposed to part of their team session.
No, yeah. For field player coach, even if, you don't have the help and stuff, stick them in. You can stick them in a lot of your training aspects, even with using their feet. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no reason they shouldn't be doing certain drills and stuff like that if you don't have the help. If don't send an 8 or 10-year-old and over into the corner and say, okay, go warm yourself up, we'll call you over when you're ready, and you don't have anybody over, you don't have anything structured, because the kid's not disciplined probably enough to set up a bunch of cones and get a session in or anything, and nor should they be. And so, if you don't have that help, figure out how to structure your session so you help activate the goalkeeper within that session, and then maybe get some sort of handling in and everything, and then bring them incorporate them into the main session as well. But it's time and time again, it's go play catch in the corner.
So let's move on to this picture right here, because, speaking of getting bored and stagnant and everything like that, Louis, I noticed that a lot of these exercises, they can be slight variations so that it just doesn't become the same game over and over again. So what's the variation here from what we're seeing?
Yeah, this is it's basically spike ball. We just didn't have the spike ball. I think we broke it a few weeks prior, but this is a good example of like not having the equipment and just being able to do it. And at the club level, youth level, that's like probably the case. You can make your square as big or as small as you want with cones or areas, and the ground that grassroots play on is probably a lot harder than this, so the ball will bounce more, which would make it easier.
Good point.
I love the fact that you're like, we broke it earlier. San Diego Wave get like 32,000 people at a game. They can't afford to get you another. It's not in the goalkeeping budget.
The equipment manager's sick of me going in asking for more things. Is that
you just don't want to deal with the conversation. You're like, I'd rather just put some tape down on the ground and we'll move on from there. Okay, so let's move on from this picture right here. Oh, okay. So now we got some heading going on here. Okay, so what is this right here?
I think we just finished playing 2-touch, and it was me and Shay left. So winner is whoever can stay in without messing up the header. That's why the other two are standing there pissed, because they just got knocked out.
Look at the hands on the hip. They got the hands on the hips. No. You can see the body language going on right there. You're like,
but that's a good attitude. So you got that.
But again, the idea is you add something like this in. So we were playing 2-touch with, I can't remember if it was just feet or hands and feet. But then you add that in at the end, because how much are you heading the ball as a goalkeeper? Not often, but there's that moment where you're going to have to come out and do it. And it might happen once a season. So incorporating it here and there in a training session, there's nothing wrong.
Oh, I can't tell you how many young goalkeepers have made a meal out of that situation at the top of the 18, coming out and trying to head the ball. Is a very frightening thing. And by young goalkeepers, I mean me in men's league. That's who I'm talking about right here. We definitely don't train it up, but it is. But you just brought up a good point, Louis. And actually, Jake Davis, who we're gonna have on the show next week over in Calgary in Canada. He had an exercise similar to this with Houston Dynamo. And I think one of the great things about it is teaching young goalkeepers, and I know obviously these are pros, so it's a different scenario, to be able to problem solve. Okay, you're outside of the box now. What do you do now? How do you handle this situation? And we need to take a lot of young goalkeepers and get them out of their comfort zone. What I mean by their comfort zone is, defending the goal, from the from the goal line to the 6-yard, box, basically. There's so many young goalkeepers that when you get into higher areas, they just freak out.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mike. It's problem solve, right? So if a ball's coming floating in and you get caught, let's say no man's land or in the wrong position, what's your choice? You're like, if you can assess the ball and you realize that this is going to take a hop, if I come and head it, right? If I come and head it, we're safe. If I wait, okay, we're probably screwed because I'm already caught out of position. And if I come and try to do something else, which we've seen time and time again, then I'm getting a red card or it's a debacle and it's in the back of the net. And so to know that you have this tool, how it might not ever happen in your career, but to know that you have this tool in your toolbox and you can assess the situation and say, you know what, this is going to bounce. I'm just going to come and head it.
Yeah. By the way, for everybody who
just gives you more confidence.
I was going to say, for everybody who's watching the show right now live, not edited, Louis actually he did not leave. He wasn't upset with what Saskia said and left the show.
He left. He's like, Saskia, shut up.
Great preparation style. My battery's about to die, and I had to run.
No, that would have been amazing if it was just like he's like, all right, that's it. I'm done. I'm out of here.
All right, move on from the heading.
All right. Let's move on from the heading. Although I do want to say quality micro movements by Louis in the heading department. You can see that he's played on the field too, based on the movements. Look
Yeah,
at
I wasn't getting down to that, so I just caught it.
Oh my God. Well, we can talk technique on that basket catch right there in a second. Okay. All right. So now it looks like we're doing a little bit of juggling here.
Yeah, to be honest, like when Shay came in, she would say like, "Oh, we did 2-touch before every training session over at London City," and it's something that she just wanted to do for a little bit of fun and a little bit of social engagement, and just especially we're lucky that we're able to get out on the field quite early before the rest of the team with the way our mornings are structured, and so when everybody's out and we have that opportunity. It's something to do for a bit of fun. I think we've had times, I think there's another clip on here where we've got Poe involved because she was out early. There was another one where Abby was out there and we even got the gloves on Abby. So more fun than anything else. But again, there are elements to it, going back to Saskia's earlier point around little micro movements and things that you're training without even realizing it, that's still happening in the game to some perspective.
Absolutely, because you're working on your touch and your finesse of your touch, and and how often do goalkeepers, which should be often, get like work on it in this environment, and it's fun. But now you have a soft touch on the ball, and you're controlling a ball, and it's 2-touch and everything, and you never know what might happen in a game. So.
Oh my God, the amount of shocking pass backs you can get sometimes, and you got to find a way to improvise and deal with it, and and either put it down in a quality position where you can make a play, or how to clear the ball cleanly. But so one thing I love about what Louis just said right there is that this is something that Shay did with her club team prior, and that she enjoyed that. I love the fact that Louis just brought up empowering the players to be involved in the process, as opposed to just telling them what activation exercises we're going to be doing.
No, absolutely. And that just means that it's a great environment, that she feels confident enough that she can come in and say, "Hey, I really love doing this. Can we incorporate it when we can?" and stuff. They should be a part of the process, and they should feel comfortable and open enough to discuss, even if it comes down to their deficiencies and and what they need to work on, or they feel like they're not getting enough training on, and it's something that's weighing on them.
I mean, that's a conversation, Louis, that we have all the time on the show in regards to the youth environment and just how many young goalkeepers are just not comfortable communicating with their coaches on session design or on what they're looking for out of their training. How can young coaches out there help young goalkeepers, be comfortable communicating with them and asking them the right questions so that they're part of the process?
Yeah. If you go into the mindset and the approach of collaboration, then I think that opens up a lot of doors. It is harder in the youth game because you're dealing with players that they don't know what they don't know. So if they haven't been exposed to certain things before, then your role as a youth coach is a little bit to develop their soccer IQ. But trying to create environments where it forces them to think outside the box or have that freedom where they feel they can ask questions and they can go up to the coach and say, "Hey, can we do this week?" Or "I really liked it when we did that," or "How can we tweak it?" I think if you can create environments where you really encourage that, then I've found in coaching, it's where you end up being the best coach, is when players give you a little bit of advice or feedback and collaboration.
Absolutely.
And Louis, I completely agree with what you're saying in regards to, like, you don't know what you don't know. And then obviously, when you're talking about an 8 or 9-year-old who's just learning the position, that is a very difficult, "Hey, what do you want to work on today?" "Oh, I've never done this before," type of a thing. But, when we're talking about like college recruiting age and Saskia, we've had these conversations. Obviously, you were involved in the college game. For a goalkeeper to know themselves and what it is that they need to work on in order to get to that next level is so important.
Absolutely. And to feel that they have the comfort to be able to go to the coach and talk to them about it and actually get feedback from the coach. But there's a fine line. You don't want the kid coming back and be like, "Can we just do a power diving today?" There's got to be a reason for things, and you have to have a conversation about it. If LB will be the first to tell you that, like, she put so much time and effort into her distribution game even before I got to UCLA, off because she struggled with it, and so the amount of effort that she put into get as solid as she is, driving the ball, serving the ball. She still shanks the ball, or she was her senior year, but the work she puts in, but to have those conversations and what do I do and how do I do and set up an environment that they can feel comfortable to do that in it's key. And I agree with you. That's when you become the best coach, honestly.
But Louis, that's a learning experience right there. That's a learning moment right there. Like if a young goalkeeper comes up to you and goes, "I want to work on power diving," now you got to share with them the context on why, based on where we are versus match day in our periodization, like this is not the right time to do this. So that's a learning moment in itself, right?
Yeah, and there's a maybe it's a little easier at the youth level where you can dictate things a bit more, but I'd say college and pro, that's where you got sometimes have to meet the goalkeeper halfway. Like, I really want to do this, I really want to work on that, and it's like this might not be the right time in the week to do that. I've had that probably across the whole 2 years, is how you find that common ground. And again, that's the collaboration piece. And going back to the original point as well, Mike, with the youth game, is you've got to be okay with a bit of trial and error as well, like and okay with the kids not knowing and going through that awkward bit about, right, come on, who's going to come up with an idea for training next week? And then you get to training and they're all like, well, no one's thought of anything, and what was do you know what I mean? And then ask a kid, what do you want to work on? How would you change that session? They come up with something, you try it next time, it doesn't work, as a coach, didn't work. Or it might blow your mind. It's like, wow, I would never even thought of that, but someone else has come up with it and now I can tweak it. So those trial and error moments, the youth game allows you to do that because you get to train so much over the course of the year.
No, I mean, that's a great point, as opposed to the college game where it's like you have 70 games in a week. It's pretty tough to do anything, but that's a whole other podcast. On the development of a goalkeeper in the college game. All right, so let's move on to this right here, because people are like, hey, this looks a lot more like football. What we're seeing right over here. So these are some one-on-one activation activities, and Louis, and I think one of the things that I'm sure is important for young goalkeeper coaches out there to hear is that exercises have to be based on kind of where you're going to be going with the session, as opposed to just we're going to do spike ball and then we're doing whatever afterwards.
Yeah, the bit in the middle we've done a bunch of times as a bit of fun and a bit of a physical activation, bit of competition where it's some kind of relay race, and there's a bit of thinking involved and a bit with your hands, but really it's just a little bit of competition while you're getting moving. And then we added the goals at each end, so it would turn into, like you say, a progression bit where that's where they're getting their kind of activation into exactly what we're going to go to next, which was a 1v1 session, rather than just doing the bit of fun and then going into something else and then going into something else. So we might have been a bit short of time today, so you get a little bit of both in. Or just across the board, you just add different ways of adding different goalkeeping elements into different warm-up activities. The bit in the middle with the cones and the poles, we've done in some capacity a dozen times throughout the season, and this was just another variation of it.
Yeah. So, any thoughts?
No, I think it's great. Again, it's finding different ways to get the activation in. And if you're stepping into 1v1 from here, like you need to find ways, number one, to keep all the goalkeepers like moving and doing something. And then two, like it's a progression, it's not just, like you said, chaos, spike ball to chaos.
Yeah. I think, one of the things too, Louis, is that a lot of times, especially with a younger coach who's maybe not as experienced, they'll have a whole session design, they have a whole session plan, and they get there and, oh, field 3 is actually taken. So we've got this 12-yard area. And by the way, coach is going to need them in 15 minutes, not 45 minutes. So, and a lot of times they panic and they try to rush their session as opposed to finding a way to maximize their time.
Yeah, and I think the more you can design activities where there's multiple topics to it, it helps with that, right? So then you're covering more than just one thing. I think modern way of coaching goalkeepers is there's probably always an element of in possession in with defending of the goal or defending of the space, which helps with that stuff.
Yeah. Now I'm looking here. You're using different size balls when it comes to these activation exercises right here. Do you think that's really important when you're doing these type of exercises? And is it for the cognitive reason or is it the physical reason? Like why do you do it?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. One, it mixes it up for them. So again, our season feels like it goes on forever, but training 4 or 5 days a week for 10 months or whatever it is, 9 months, you've got to have different ways to mix it up. So we played this game before with the size 5s. We started it with the tennis balls. There's definitely an element of how your brain reacts differently to the little one and go into the big one, and then how your eyes have to watch the ball onto your hand more. And I think across the board of your development, that helps.
Yeah, I see the competition flowing through everybody. They're throwing their hands up in the air when they score a point and everything
this
like
is
that.
Actually this game here as well. It's shuttlecock. I forget the name of the company, but it's like badminton.
Yeah.
It's like that. So that was way better than the tennis ball for the hand-eye coordination and really watching it. That was a fun game. I think we did that every day that week because it was, I liked it.
This game is awesome too. This whole sprinting game right here. I'm not gonna lie, all of these just look like fun. Like I want to go out there right now and just do these games myself.
Well, this one, I think I might have posted this on Twitter. I saw this from somebody else as a field player game where they were running to the ball and they had to get the ball, and then I forget what they did afterwards, dribble and turn or something. And I thought you can change that and make it more goalkeeper version and turn it into not just a little bit of competition in a warm-up and a bit of a physical activation, but you can then turn it into how you're defending the goal in some capacity as well. So I put the little white lines in so they had to drop in and defend. They couldn't just get it. They couldn't just straight away.
Be big. Yeah.
And then there was points involved. I think like if you saved it, you got a point. If you scored, you got 2 points. If you got the ball first, you got a point. Different things like that.
And I think go ahead, Susk.
No, I just love it because I love that you have the line there to incorporate that negative movement, but at the same time, you have to pay attention to what the person with the ball is doing, because if they get behind the white line and stop, you have to change your body position, make sure your body weights forward and make the save. And they're quick reaction saves here. It's just like what you can get on the ball to keep it out of the goal.
Yeah, I love the drop.
That was funny.
No, I love the dropping for depth after a loss to possession. I mean, it just really realistic.
Well, because if you didn't give that rule, like let's be honest, if you didn't give that rule, you just post the person up and just be big.
That's very true. That's very true. But I think one of the fun things about all these, Louis, is about for young coaches out there is just be creative. Be creative and don't be afraid for something to not work, right? Like you might try some, go, you know what? That's not doing that one again. It's just not working, or find ways to adjust it on the fly. Because not all of these are going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, going back to the youth game, it allows you to do that. You've probably got a bit more grace with the youth players than you do with the pros. So if you put one of these together and it's not that great or it doesn't work, you're going to hear about it from whereas in the youth game, they'll be patient with it. And again, they don't know what they don't know. And even if you plan something and it doesn't work, as long as you've planned it, the kids will get something out of it, even if it's the tiniest little bit of detail. They'll still get something out of it, and as a coach, that didn't work when you're reviewing it. that didn't work. I would have to change this or change that, or just scrap it completely. And that's coaching.
Yeah.
No, by the way, when you saying you have a little bit more grace, I don't know if you've met youth parents before, or not sure how much grace you have, which is why we have the Union Goalkeeper Parent Community, guys. Learn how to parent goalkeepers. Learn how to be able to handle yourself properly in a goalkeeping environment. That's a weird plug, but also just a public service announcement to anybody out there. All right. So now, as we start wrapping up, and Louis, I appreciate you taking this time, man, because, obviously, you got the little ones and, you're still doing some off-season training. Let's talk a little bit about things that people can do. A lot of, college players are in their off season right now. A lot of club players are going into their off season on the winter break. What are some good little exercises that they can do on their own with a server during the break to kind of keep sharp before they come back?
I think this period of time is where you can really dive into your IDP. Again, I think I mentioned Serge's episode with you guys earlier, where he had one of his goalkeepers on talking about their IDP and certain things that they wanted to focus on throughout the course of the season. It's difficult to get a real consistent base on that at certain times of the year at the pro level and at the college level. But this time when you're off is you can, through your plans, what one or two key areas are that you want to focus on, and just diving into that as much as possible, whether it is something like your 1v1 spreading or blocking technique. You can break it down. You can make it really robotic. You can make it really announced, so your body and your brain starts really understanding those movements, and you get that consistency in. Knowing that when you go back into the season, you're going to have all of the live pictures when you're back in with the team. So it just gives you that time to hone in and announce on the fine little technical details. And I think for youth players that might be off right now, one, it would be like have a bit of a break. But then how can you do things at home where you're still incorporating little things like hand-eye coordinations? Obviously during COVID, there was loads of that, whether it was just catching a tennis ball against the wall and doing it with one hand to the other. We had a lot of kids getting like ping pong balls thrown at them, and then they were dropping it in one bucket to the next, the red bucket, the blue bucket, activating their brains that way, just so you get a little bit of time off the grass, which you need to mentally refresh, but you're still refining different areas that you're going to need when you get back to it. Yeah.
No, I love what you just said. Suska, anything you want to add to that?
No, exactly. I think 100%. This is the time when you take those one or two things that you don't get the time as a pro or as a college player to focus on during season, because when you're in season, like, yes, you'll have time to kind of, but not pinpoint it as much as you can in these months that you're off. Like, you can take, whether it's 1v1, whether it's certain, and not just 1v1's grand, but let's break it down a little bit and really look at your IDP and say, where within my 1v1s am I deficient? What am I struggling with? Where in my crosses am I deficient? Like, it's not just crosses as a blanket, but it might be certain situations. And now's the time that you can really pick that apart.
Yeah. And I think,
stay fit.
No, but I also like one thing that Louis said there in regards about a little bit of a break. I think, especially for parents out there who are listening, or watching, is that you have to recognize how much volume. What was the volume that your goalkeeper went through this year? Did they play every single game? Did they go to trainings 3 times a week plus individual private goalkeeper training? Like, what was the volume? Because everyone's going to be different. Maybe some goalkeepers need a little bit more work, and maybe some other goalkeepers, it's like from a physical standpoint, from a body standpoint, their bodies need the break too.
And their mind might need the break too.
Yeah.
Let's go there. Like, their mind might need the break. Else they're going to stop enjoying it.
That's a really good point. Well, speaking of the mind, I think everyone's minds are starting to start focusing towards the holidays. But as we do that, guys, I just want to announce a couple of different things right here. Obviously, we're going to be at Richmond Goalkeeping Academy in Richmond, Virginia, in a couple of weeks, December 15th to the 17th. We're going to be doing live shows and some demos of the Union app for those of you guys who are not familiar with it yet. So shout out to Amanda and everybody at Richmond Goalkeeping Academy for having us out there to do that. We'll also be at the United Soccer Coaches Convention doing live shows during the NWSL draft time, which is going to be taking place out there in Anaheim, California. And there's going to be some really awesome sessions. Jill Lloyden from TKI, she'll be doing some sessions there. And I'm sure some other people that Louis knows are going to be doing some sessions there. I'm sure Louis is going to be there at the Anaheim convention. Not going to put him on the spot right there. It's only an hour drive, but we'll see what the situation is. He might need a break too. And that's going to be great. And if you guys want to go to that, we actually have a special discount code that you can only get if you're a Union app member. So you can get that discount code on the Union app. Just DM us on the Union app and we will send that to you. So you got to be a member. And speaking of all that, as we start getting all this stuff done, Louis has been very, very busy this entire time. I know some people have been reaching out asking, hey, I'd love to do some sessions with Louis online. Really, really love everything that he's been putting up on his socials and really feel I could learn from him. Louis is going to be a pro mentor. We're very, very excited about that. And, we're going to slowly start rolling that out as his children age so that he gets some sleep. But Louis, why was it important for you to get involved in a situation like this as a pro mentor and helping out young goalkeepers, parents, and young coaches?
From a coach's perspective, I think what you guys do with the podcast and now with the app, it's something that I would have loved to have had access to when I was first getting into coaching. I think the more you can, when you're not involved in the top level of youth, or you're not involved in college or pro, having the curtain kind of pulled back a little bit and seeing what people are doing that have got a little bit more experience is invaluable, as well as taking licenses. And the problem with this country is there isn't an abundance of goalkeeper licenses available. So what you guys provide is another version of that education. And to be a part of that is pretty cool and help out as much as I can. And if there's any little bit of advice that I can give from the experience that I've gained over the last 20 years or so, and it helps somebody, then yeah, I'd love to be able to do that.
Saskia, I believe you had a young coach reach out to you who's a parent of a goalkeeper as well too, and wanted to, and they're just beginning their type of a journey. So it's like, it doesn't matter what level you're at. We're all here to engage with each other, interact with each other, and grow from each other. Don't just think, oh, I'm not a college coach, or my son isn't or daughter isn't playing, ECNL or, MLS.
Actually, it wasn't a coach. It was a parent.
Oh, it was a parent. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still incredibly involved, and we had a great conversation and everything. But yes, anybody, we're here for that, to answer questions, bounce them off. So
yeah, and then obviously, we'll talk to Louis and figure out his schedule and see how he can get involved, and we'll have a chat about that. But just to kind of teach you guys how the process works, if you're not familiar with it, essentially we got in the app, we've got the whole portal where you got all your different pro mentors. You can choose who you want to work with. As you move on, you can see who's available. Louis is available right now, and we're using that time to have him on the podcast. So that's that was already taken. Sorry, guys. You're gonna have to meet with him at another time. You click on Louis, you see if he's available. It looks like he's available at the time. You press book now, and the process begins. So really, really, honestly, humbled and honored that somebody who's coaching at the level that you are, Louis, wants to be involved in a program like this, and we're very, very, very excited. And I know as the off season kind of continues, you're going to be getting active. So if people want to reach out to you on the app, what I believe it's at Louis Hunt. Is that what it is? Your socials?
It's at Louis Hunt 1717. I believe it's the same on the app as well.
Okay. At Louis Hunt 17, as opposed to at Louis Hunt 16, guys. So don't reach out to Louis Hunt 16. That's going to be a young goalkeeper who's 9 years old playing in Iowa. So probably a different person. Obviously, if you want to reach out to Saskia, it's at Saskia on the app, at Goalkeeper Podcast if you have a topic suggestion or a guest suggestion, or you can go contact at insidethe18media.com. Saskia, anything you want to share before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. I love this.
Okay.
I'm gonna go call LB and River a little bit.
She'll be out. She'll be out surfing. What is it? Midday.
I know she will. I know, but I love it. And that's like we said, I used to float on a board when we were in Florida. I couldn't call it surfing, but you kind of get out there on your time off and do other things that clear your mind and engage you as well. And I love that she'd be out surfing.
By the way, elephant in the room right here. I thought this was a virtual background that Louis had. This is his actual space. That's not a virtual background. That's actually real behind you, right?
Yeah. This was originally my workspace and office space in the garage that has very quickly turned into the dumping ground / where baby stuff goes / where
I know how that is.
Yeah, I won't turn it around and embarrass myself and show you what it really looks like.
But that's where you watch all the Villa matches. Is down there.
Yes, that's where I used to hide to watch them, but now they're very good, so I don't have to hide anymore.
Nice.
Oh my gosh. Definitely don't have that problem with the wave. All right, guys, that's all the time on Inside.
Great seeing you, Louis.
You too.
And we are out. Later, guys.
Yeah.